Welcome to my channel. My name is Alexis Bravo and I'm a philosopher in training. I'm in the business of sharing my thoughts with the world to promote the evolution of our civilization, its current state, and its ultimate destination. In this video, we're going to address restrictions on reproduction. If you've ever thought about all the people who didn't get a fair chance at life, starting with a family structure, then this is a video for you. Placing limits on who can and can't have children is certainly controversial, but the real object of our discussion has to do with the responsibility and education of starting a family. Let's discuss. According to UNICEF, there are 153 million orphan children worldwide. The International Foster Care Organization claims there are 2,726,000 children in the foster care system. That's 160 million to 726,000 children that will endure lives without the guidance of loving or caring parents according to their traditional model, or the traditional model. They will lack the financial, emotional, and foundational support that could guarantee them good and successful lives. They will struggle with the psychological trauma of being neglected for their entire lives, sometimes abused by the systems in place that are meant to help them get ahead in life, at least most of the time. It's important to note that we all bear the burden of these children's condition. First, because we're responsible for one another, we're one people, and second, because our community is defined by its weakest link, making us the product of all our mishaps. If we want to belong to a great society, we must take the necessary steps to secure the welfare of our progeny. Each of the children in this statistic matter, and each one could have been afforded better lives if we were better prepared to handle their needs, or in many cases, if their parents had been better informed about their responsibilities, although obviously not always. Having children is no joke. The USDA claims the average cost of raising a child is $233,610. That's feasible for most households where both parents share the wealth and both parents are earning an average or above average income a year. However, you also have to provide children with a quality of life, a high one if possible. And that means that they should be raised by both parents for the sake of their psychological well-being, that the parents should be able to create strong social bonds early on and maintain those bonds throughout the entire life of the child, or their lives. Also for the sake of their psychological well-being. The main factors here are money and time. The parents will need time to devote to their children, which means they need to have a job that supports their needs. And that narrows the candidates to very few. Our jobs could evolve to meet the parents' needs, and that's definitely on the table. But the point that I'm trying to make is that only a small percentage of all people can meet their children's financial and emotional needs. Planning for a family is a social service because, believe me when I say, we're not doing our children any favors by affording them the very least of what we're capable of doing. Then there's also the matter of child rearing. Aside from the obvious emotional needs of their children, parents often learn how to parent on the fly. Each parent tends to make choices based on their own experiences. However, there should be an accessible program that all new parents can take to equip them with the skills that they need to become successful parents. Ideally during pregnancy, and of course, foundational education about family and the operative dynamics and duties within that context during the formative years of a person's development. We should learn how to be a successful member of the family unit long before we start a family of our own. And of course, we should be good role models, contributing to our society in meaningful and tangible ways. The people who meet these requirements are capable of starting a family, and should be allowed to reproduce as long as they're still able to meet these requirements. Restrictions on reproduction have occurred in the past. China is responsible for the longest running restriction on reproduction, the one-child policy. China believed that its population was growing too quickly and that it would lose control of it, so it implemented a plan to curb the population growth. The tactic was effective. It achieved its purpose after nearly 4 decades. While population is certainly a concern because we don't want people to become unmanageable, like China proposed, a more relevant consideration is that the success or failure of a person is our collective burden. We're all responsible for each child's welfare to a certain degree, be it as role models or as parents. And most people can agree that not everybody should have children, partly because some are unfit for the task, and partly because some may be very disagreeable people that we fear may pass on their disagreeable traits. Although that's not a reason to bar you from having children. The restrictions we would want to place on reproduction regard qualifications. While we wouldn't want to prevent a person capable of being a good parent who is also potentially disagreeable, we would definitely want to prevent a person from being a parent who is entirely unfit for the task. The problem has to do with enforcement. How do we enforce these restrictions? Fines and incarceration would make child rearing that much more difficult to impossible, and the impact on the child would be significant. Education, however, provides a strong preventative measure. If we ensure that state-run education teaches comprehensive courses on family early in life and provides accessible parenting programs for first-time parents, we will prevent great harm. The other factor is responsibility. We must be ready for the task. If we're interested in starting a family, it's a lifelong commitment that doesn't end when the child is officially an adult or even when they've started their own life. Their lives continue to be our responsibility long after we passed on. So get informed and don't rush into it. Your children will thank you. Thanks for watching.